YouTube going the Goat House is back. 100,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. Appreciate you guys very much. Grind continues. I know you guys probably want me to get into the video, so we won't ramble on about it. I made a post about us hitting that goal. I'll put that down in the comments. A lot of useful links down there. I've been grading the trades. Brian Burns, Carlton Davis on Twitter. Links bringing you directly to there. We have a spreadsheet with the signing trackers and the grades. But this is our third grades video. More of these to come. So check out the other two if you haven't seen them. Yeah, join us for all of our NFL content. Can't wait for the rest of free agency and the draft. Austin Ekeler, we predicted him to go to the Commanders. He did go to Commanders. 2-year, $11.4 million. It's an average of $5.7 million per year. I give it a B+. I think this is pretty decent value and experience back. Really solid, pass catcher. That's where I like the fit. Anthony Lynn there, I think that really helped, the connection. But really good fit because Kingsbury's offense, it's about a lot of passing, getting guys out in space. So I think Ekeler fits, because of that. But he also fits, pairing with Brian Robinson, who I like, a physical back. Austin Ekeler, more of your pass-catching back. It's a really solid duo. They complement each other. So I do like it. Pretty decent value. I mean, Ekeler did take a big step down last year. He made quite a few mistakes, but hoping to redeem himself on a new team here and prove, that he still has it. So B+ for this one. Cheaper running back deal, especially compared to the ones that have been given out so far in free agency. So B+ for the Commanders. Yesterday in the second video, I gave them a very good grade for Frankie Uwuh, maybe my best signing so far, so go check that one out. Titans, we got a couple Titans in this video. Chidobe Uwuh from the Bengals going to the Titans. Brian Callahan's there, so that connection, even though he's an offensive-minded coach, obviously, and Awuzie is a corner. 3 years, $36 million, average of $12 million per year. Give the Titans a B+ as well for this one. It was funny because I said it in the predict. We missed a lot of predictions because there's been surprises. I fucking love that, but Awuzie, some predictions we hit. Awuzie, actually, my prediction was the Colts, but if you remember in the video, I said, for some weird reason, I think it's Colts or Titans. No one else. I think it's Colts or Titans. And I predicted the Colts, and my second guess being the Titans. He ends up going to the Titans, so it was pretty interesting. And I do think the Colts were in on him. I think it was a really good fit. But my favorite thing about Awuzie, he's tough. He's physical. He's very physical. My favorite thing is he is equally as effective in any coverage. There's not too many corners that are like that. There's corners that play great, but they need their cover too, or they're great. And younger guys are usually great in man coverage. There's cover 3, everything, they need kind of specific team, specific coverages. Awuzie, he's equally effective in all the coverages across the board. Now that's actually kind of rare. So that's where I love Chidobe Uwuh. I always thought he was underrated. I liked him a lot out of Colorado. So the Titans under Leonard Williams, I think they're going to mix it up. It's with the Ravens. They mix up their coverages. So it makes sense as a fit. And I like those defenses that don't just be predictable and stick to one thing. And this is more of my range for how you should pay corners. If I'm a GM, there's great corners that are worthy of 18, 19, 20 million, but I just don't think it's like championship roster formula is paying corners that much money. So this is more of my range. I think, from the top tier to the next tier, there's a pretty big drop off in price. So this is kind of where I'm kind of targeting guys here. I thought he would get in the range of 10 to 12 million. So on the higher end, but doesn't mean it's an overpay. He does have durability concerns, 3-year deal. He's going to be in his 30s at that point. So is he going to last the 3 years? That's kind of the question. So there are little flaws, nothing major. He's going to help them in a big way right now. I'm going to go B+ here for Awuzie and the Titans, probably close to A-. I'm going to go B+ on that one. The durability concerns, that's maybe what knocked it down a little bit. We saw those in Dallas and in Cincinnati, but a very solid corner here for the Tennessee Titans. They also got a big-time center in Lloyd Cushenberry. They paid a lot of money here. I do like Cushenberry. He was one of the better centers in football last year. I liked him a lot at LSU. But he really got going last year. Last year was kind of that breakout year. So, and the Titans paying $12.5 million per year, one of the highest paid centers, not far off from the great Frank Ragnow. I know it's a different year, different signing, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's an overpay maybe a tiny bit, and sometimes that's not the worst thing, but I'm more of a believer of drafting a center in the mid rounds. You just got to do your homework. You got to be good at scouting, obviously. But at the end of the day, the Titans badly need offensive line help, and they get a solid center in Lloyd Cushenberry, who potentially could play guard. If they moved him to guard, and it looks like a bargain. So I guess I just thought of that now, but we'll see what they do. He has been playing center, obviously, but that actually could be a good deal if they go that route. So, it's a tricky one because it's a little high up for the centers. But you see the way the interior offense linemen are getting paid. I mean, mainly the guards are getting absurd money. And I know if he's a center, then he can't have that guard value. But so now the more I'm talking, the more maybe I'm justifying it a little bit more here. But C+ isn't the worst thing in the world. C+, B-, around that range. Again, I'm more of a fan of if you're gonna pay a center, let's keep it under $10 million, or if we're gonna and he better be a damn good one, or just draft one. Some of the best centers in football were drafted in the middle rounds. There. So a lot of money dished out for a center here for Tennessee. But they've been getting better. The Titans have been adding. Well, they had Tony Pollard's big time running back. Do they necessarily get better though? Because they lose Derrick Henry, but they're adding guys here and there. That are helping the roster as a whole. So they've done a pretty decent job, actually. Onwenu went back to the Patriots, 3-year, $57 million. So that's a lot of money, $19 million. But you see the way the other offense linemen are getting paid, and he was looking for tackle money. He gets tackle money. But he can play tackle. He can play guard or tackle. So big for the Patriots to get him back, get that versatility back. That's absolutely huge. So I give it a B. I mean, it's a lot. It's actually close to top tier. It is like top tier tackle money. And again, he could be playing tackle for them, but he's got to stay healthy, got to continue to improve. But overall, they needed him back, and it's a solid, versatile piece. So I gave the Patriots a B for that one. Azeez Al-Shaair was with the 49ers, went to the Titans for a year, now with the Texans. I was surprised at the amount of money he got. It's a pretty solid young linebacker. $11.3 million per year. Blake Cashman gets 8.5. He was pretty good for the Texans. So they view Shaair as an upgrade. Just in terms of the linebacker unit, could be a little bit different linebacker than Cashman, obviously. But I was surprised at that pay range. I thought he would actually go cheaper than expected. So it was the opposite there. It's a tough one to grade because he's going to be good on the Texans. Texans get the most out of their players. He's played under DeMeco Ryans. He was a backup for DeMeco Ryans, but had a lot of starting reps, of course. But we know he fits. He's going to be solid there. Wasn't necessary to pay this much for a linebacker. It's weird seeing him in the price range of Frankie Lavue. Titans, another team, they were always getting the most out of their linebackers, and I thought their linebacker unit was actually worse than it was in the previous, several years. And then their guys would kind of leave and not be as good, anywhere else. Again, I'm confident he'll be good in DeMeco Ryans' defense. It just more than a little bit more than I expected here. I didn't think it was necessary to pay this much unless you're getting a Frankie Lavue or Patrick Queen, which those guys probably should go for a little bit more. But Lavue got paid around this range, so maybe just get Cashman back at this point. I guess they could have had both Cashman. Not for that price, but he's going to be a solid player for them though. Leonard Williams going back to Seattle, another tricky one because it's a lot of money, $21.5 million for Leonard Williams, a veteran guy. And it does feel a little bit like the Seahawks felt like they were forced to do it because they traded pretty good value for him, and it would have been a complete waste. It already kind of felt like one, but it would have been a complete waste if they didn't get him back. So they felt like they had to get him back. So there's that part of it where it felt like they were a little desperate. They were forced to, I should say. $21.5 million is a little more than I would expect it from him, but at the same time, and I do wonder how they're going to use Draymond Jones and Leonard Williams. In my opinion, in Mike McDonald's defense, they're kind of the same player, but I think they'll use both, obviously, and Williams is pretty versatile. But at the same time, all that, he does play off the edge at times, even though he's a bigger guy. So looking at it that way, $21.5 million is not too bad. He's a solid interior defender. He's a little inconsistent. 1 second he looks like a Pro Bowl, like elite player, and 1 second definitely under that. So where's he going to be at this stage of his career? It's going to be fun to watch on Mike McDonald's defense. I give it a B minus. I was originally gonna give it lower because again, it's a little more than I thought. I thought they were kind of forced to, like felt like they were forced to because they traded for him. You know, how they're gonna use him in that defense, but yeah, again, if he's versatile, if he's playing off the edge at times, you know, could they use him like Clowney? Could McDonald use him like Clowney? That's definitely a possible, you know, a bigger pass rusher. I know Williams is much heavier, but you know, so that kind of goes into the value. And at the end of the day, you want him back. Like you don't want to you want a good player back. You don't want those picks to go to waste. So we bump it up to a B minus there. He is a very solid player. Next, the Panthers speaking of the Seahawks, they get a Seahawks player, Damen Lewis. So this is the second guard they signed. Damen Lewis could play center as well, but this would be an absurd amount for a center. So he's going to play guard. Opposite of side of Robert Hunt, which we graded in the most recent video. That was a splash signing for the Panthers. So they completely changed the guards on this team. This one's a bit much. You know, Damen Lewis has some durability concerns. He's still got upside. He's been all right. You know, he's an all right guy with some upside. I thought, you know, really his value should be like 10 million maximum. And that could be, you know, anything under could actually be a steal because of his upside that he has. But yeah, the Panthers, I think they acted like they're a little too desperate for guards. You know, the offensive line, you know, it wasn't great last year. A lot of it has to do with coaching. A lot of it did have to do with a rookie quarterback holding the ball a little bit too long. I think that, you know, they get better coaches in there, and they could have done a better job. I don't know if it was necessary. Getting Robert Hunt's huge for the right side of the line. We talked about that, but I don't know if it was necessary to double down. I think they could have just done their job and coached. And found that, you know, whether they had the guy or through the draft or just cheaper, and just coach the rest of that, you know, the other guard position. So maybe they acted a little too desperate based off how many times Bryce Young was pressured or sacked. A lot of it was on him. A lot of it was on the coaching and some of the offensive line. I look at left tackle was an issue, but Onwenu does have some upside. So I thought this was an overpay. I think an unnecessary amount of desperation. Again, Lewis could be very solid. I think Hunt's got I think his best, both these guys' best football is ahead of him. Hunt, I think, is pretty damn decent, and if you absolutely need him to, if you're running out of options at tackle, you can put him at tackle, so I did like that, but yeah, this was a little surprising that they doubled down. I thought there was a shot they didn't add a guard in free agency, or just maybe the cheaper guys, because they could have worked with some of the decent guys that they have. You know, because I think Corbett's been decent, you know, so obviously they needed one guard at least, but they doubled down. Again, I think it's a little bit of an overpay, but we'll see. Brian Burns, I graded the trade with a lot of notes on our Twitter. I'll put the links in the comments. It's a good reason to follow our Twitter. Haven't been getting to the videos. We can kind of recap if there's a bunch that happen. But so the trade grade is different than for the Giants than the actual signing grade, because technically he was a free agent. So 5-year, $150 million. This is max, and I would imagine there's a lot of incentives there, which makes sense because Brian Burns, if you look at the stats, maybe you're a little underwhelmed about the sack numbers, even though he has sack numbers. But if you watch Brian Burns play, he has more of an impact than that. He's on the brink of getting a lot more sacks. He's that close. He's winning reps that he's not getting sacks on. So the incentives, like if he gets those, like there was a couple seasons ago where he had like barely in the double digits. It felt like, you know, me watching it felt like the guy easily could have had 20 sacks that like could have been close to breaking the record. He was that close on, and there's all the pass rushers, you know, are close on more sacks, but, Burns was like the ultimate guy like that. Like, you know, so I think his best football is ahead. I'm a big Brian Burns fan. He was ahead of schedule to me, like the second he came in the league. Like I wasn't crazy high on him as a prospect. You know, so I do want to see base value. I haven't seen that yet. $30 million per year it's a lot. I mean, you're paying him elite money. I think he has potential very soon to be an elite edge rusher, and that's one of the most important positions in football. They're getting paid a lot of money. I mean, Christian Wilkins, interior defensive lineman, getting paid $27.5 million. So, and I bet that'll be under it once we get the base value for Brian Burns. I bet it'll be under the 27 range. So, I'll give it a B. It does seem a little high. They traded for, you know, they're banking on a lot of things here. I think he's a really good player on the brink of getting easily 15 plus sacks a season. Him and Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be fun. My phone's going crazy. Commanders are signing Marcus Mariota. So there you go. There's that. Yeah, so I gave the Giants a B for the signing of Brian Burns, who, he had to be traded for. He was on the tag, but technically was a free agent still going into this year. Next one. We got a couple Vikings. Vikings added Sam Darnold. So going from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold obviously isn't the greatest thing, but the Vikings, it did really feel like their plan was, and it's more evident now, that they are targeting a quarterback in the draft for the future. And that I've been saying it was the case with or without Kirk Cousins. So would it have made sense to pay $100 million to Kirk Cousins if you're targeting a guy for the future anyways? No, even though Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback. So I think it's the right move, not spending that much, whether you think it's an overpay or not. So they had to find somebody, and Darnold was a decent option that was out there. Never really been a huge Darnold guy. Wasn't a huge Darnold guy at USC. Jets and Panthers obviously didn't have a lot of help there. He played very well against the Vikings in a Panthers-Vikings game a couple years ago. Maybe they remember that, but got to learn from the Niners. So we'll see. I mean, it's a good situation. Kevin O'Connell's being known as like a QB type, QB whisperer type, kind of along those lines, and good coach to play under if you're a quarterback, and having Justin Jefferson and those weapons and guys like that, and an improving offensive line. It's a pretty damn good situation for Sam Darnold here, obviously. So what I like for the Vikings is a one-year deal. I like that it's a one-year deal here because there's so many teams that sign quarterbacks every year. It happens nonstop that when they sign that quarterback, like their grade A situation is like, all right, and what they're thinking is like, we're going to sign this guy. We think he's pretty decent, but deep down, is this really our guy for the future? Is it really like, is this the guy that he's going to be the guy? He's going to be great? No, but we're going to sign him. And teams do that, sign those guys for 2-3 years, and it doesn't really make sense. It's a little contradicting. So I do like that it's a one-year deal. $10 million is maybe a little, I was going to say it's a little bit more than what he's worth based on he's played, but again, cap the increase and what some of these guys are getting paid. And he's a guy with some upside, with the right team, and the Vikings could be that right team. So I'll give it a B. The more I'm talking, maybe I'm talking like it's a B+. I just haven't been a huge Darnold guy, so it's tough. But overall, like given the circumstances, his upside, the fit, 1-year deal, overall, it's pretty decent. Overall, I like it here. So I think he'll start for the Vikings week 1, no matter who they get in the draft, whether it be a big trade up for Drake May or a J.J. McCarthy. I got a feeling one of those two guys, but I imagine May would just go 2 without a trade being possible. But that would be A+ situation. Big Vikings guy, and I'm a big Drake May guy, so would love that. But yeah, another move for the Vikings, getting Aaron Jones. Surprise yesterday. The big story to me yesterday wasn't Kirk Cousins. The big story yesterday was the Packers signing Josh Jacobs and then cutting Aaron Jones. Just such a key piece to their franchise. But let's be honest, Josh Jacobs is going to tear it up in Green Bay. But Aaron Jones was insane down the stretch last year and in the playoffs. As soon as he got released, I was thinking Vikings. I was pulling for the Vikings here, and they do it. They make it happen this morning, 1 year, $7 million deal. So on the same level as some of the other running backs that are getting paid more. Obviously, those guys are a little younger. Maybe have less of the durability issues. Some of them, actually. Not, Barkley has it, Swift has it. So and he gets a little cheaper here. 1 year deal to play it safe for the Vikings. I like the fit. The West Coast running style, outside zone, home run type hitter. The Vikings offensive line the run blocking was great, like before the red zone. They could not score rushing touchdowns in the red zone due to their running backs and the offensive line, but they were creating some big holes in the open field, especially when backed up a little bit. And, Madison wasn't a big home run hitting guy, obviously. Aaron Jones is kind of known for being a home run hitting guy, so I love that fit. Give it an A-. Again, 1 year deal could be a good thing, but it's also, they're going to need a running back again. They probably still need one because you got to look out for the future here. So that's probably why we tack on that's what going to be why we tack on the minus there. But I love this. Always been a big Aaron Jones fan. I was super high on him out of UTEP. So I was very happy that he was succeeding right away. So maybe he's a little pissed off at the Packers for asking to take a pay cut and then cutting him and replacing him, and he goes to, that's one of the biggest rivals in football, Vikings-Packers, so he goes to the Vikings. That's going to be interesting. Link for this in the comments. Keeping track. We got all the old ones as well. I don't have the details for every signing, this second, or most of them, though. So which one's Gus Edwards signed with the Chargers? It's a pretty cheap deal. I gave it an A. I mean, for the Chargers have to be careful what they're spending right now. They were put in a pretty bad situation. So they get a pretty quality running back at a cheap price. Alohi Gillen back to the Chargers as well. Decent safety. I gave that one a B. Epinesa made some clutch plays here and there last year. $10 million per year. You're kind of putting him around the range of, some of the Leonard Floyd's, Darius Smith. I like Van Ginkel a little better. He got $10 million range, so I give it a B minus. Still, he fits the bills. He made some big plays last year, but maybe a little bit more than I thought. I mean, you can see Ronald Darby played pretty well for the Ravens last year. He does have major durability concerns. The Jack get him for $5 million per year. Eluemunor for the Giants. It's an interesting signing. $7 million per year. A guy with starting experience. To me, that signing says, like, based on who he is and the money, that says, like, we might need you to start at right tackle because our former high draft pick Evan Neal is struggling, but we really want Evan Neal to start and work out. So you might be a very highly paid backup. So that's what that signing says. Putting it that way doesn't sound great, but you might have got better at right tackle. You get an experienced guy. It's worth the shot, but there's a shot. He's getting paid $7 million per year to be a glorified backup, which backup tackles don't really get reps unless injury or just extremely poor performance. So it's an interesting one. Jordyn Brooks, he hasn't quite figured it out yet. He's a really good run stopper. Does have some durability concern popped up. I guess not really major, but he had something pop up a couple years ago. $10 million per year. I was really confident with the Cowboys getting him. I'm pretty sure they were interested in him, but I thought they're going to get him for like something cheap, like because they couldn't spend a lot. So the Dolphins let a bunch of guys walk because they're thin on cap, but they spend $10 million per year on a still up in the air linebacker here. That's mainly a run stopper. I'm going to go C on that one. He does have upside, but that was an interesting one. Noah Fant was an interesting one. He hasn't fully put it together. He is a weapon. I would like the Seahawks to get him back, but I am surprised that he is getting $10.5 million per year. I mean, that's kind of nearing the top tier tight end. I mean, not the elite, but the top tier tight end money. So I was a little surprised about that amount. Like Will Dissly gets way less than that. Brissett, which we predicted the Patriots, gave that one a B. Gross Matos for the 49ers. I mean, they spent a little bit of change on. I mean, $9 million is actually more. He was a guy that was thought of highly of actually coming out of Penn State. So maybe he figures it out with the 49ers. They're kind of known for that, but they also don't have D'Amico Ryans. They were kind of known for that under Saleh and D'Amico Ryans. So I thought that was a little more than he was going to get. Actually, a bit more, but I do like the upside still. And they had him and Leonard Floyd. I guess you could argue, could you have went for a bit, instead of getting both those guys, could you have went for Daniil Hunter, a Jonathan Grenard, so putting it maybe B minus a little high, but I'm gonna stick with that. Dolphins, another one. Aaron Brewer, $7 million per year for a center that was replaced on a bad offensive line. If you're gonna get a center, like I want to be a damn good one around like the 8, 9, 10 million range, or I'm going to draft one. So I would think Aaron Brewer would get like 4 or 5 million. So I'm not really sure what the Dolphins are doing right now. Zach Moss. So this is an interesting one. I like the value of the signing here. He's a good running back. Maybe he's a high-end backup, but we're probably going to be starting for the Bengals, him and Chase Brown. $4 million per year. That's pretty solid. They cut Joe Mixon, who's a really good running back, and clear 6. So for the $2 million more, I was talking about this on Twitter, I'd rather have Joe Mixon, but overall, I think Zach Moss is decent. It's a pretty decent value. John Simpson for the Jets. Yeah, he struggled throughout his career so far and then went to the Ravens and played better than expected, but I think it's a lot of scheme in Lamar's legs over there that makes the offensive lineman look better than once they got to a whole different game. They play the Texans first, who are still developing them, and they get to the Chiefs game. The Chiefs expose that offensive line. So Simpson, $9 million per year for him when he hasn't really proven much. It's a bit, but he does have upside. The Jets badly need offensive line, but that's a risky one at $9 million. I heard some things about him, like I was starting to get worried he's going to get even more than that, to be honest. Already, Strange, he got a 3-year deal in my opinion. I thought it's like a 1 or 2 year deal guy, $5.3 million, tough guy, some experience, probably a high-end backup though. Kenneth Murray to the Titans. It's another Titan signing in this video. I gave that an A. Murray he's been a bust so far. He's been a bust, plain and simple. He was a first-round pick for a reason. I loved his tape at Oklahoma. He was a Swiss Army knife, basically, at the off-ball linebacker position, but sometimes lined up off the edge. The Chargers take him, and Brandon Staley does not use him any way like Oklahoma used him. So that kind of ruined the start of his career. So he needed a fresh start somewhere. He's young. He still has a lot of upside. What position do players like change like their skill level based on switching teams the most? I'd say it's a linebacker, whether it's good or bad. You see so many linebackers, they switch teams, switch coaches, switch schemes, and all of a sudden they're good. Like what? And then or all of a sudden the good guys are bad. So I think there's a shot Murray can revive his career here. Under $8 million per year. I like that it's multiple years because he's a guy that has upside. It's a sneaky one. It's a sneaky one there. Daquan Jones back with the Bills, $8 million per year. Was a monster earlier in the year, got injured, and then it was tough when he came back. Veteran interior defensive lineman. Still got that talent in him. $8 million's a bit. Guy coming off the injury, a little bit older, but some other guys are getting paid more. I gave it a B+. I like Daquan Jones. Tyrod Taylor can be Aaron Rodgers' backup, $9 million per year. Decent backup for them. Thought he'd be a little bit cheaper again. Some of these guys are getting paid a bit more. Darnold, $10 million. He does have the upside that Tyrod Taylor does not have, but Taylor probably a little bit better today. So I gave that the B. So signings are happening right now. We're going to add to the spreadsheet. We're going to add, another video coming. Best available free agents. I made a post on that on Twitter. Best overall players that signed yesterday, like top 10. I made a post on that on Twitter. So Twitter has a lot, or X has a lot from us. So link pinned in the comments for that. Our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV, code GOAT. Check it all out. Very important links pinned in the comments, for you guys that keep useful. This is our third grades video. We have a playlist full of them. More to come. Expecting a lot more not a lot more, but a few big trades to come still too. So excited. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.